Okay, so we're going to talk about data management today. We're going to talk about this on 3 different levels. Part of it is how do you manage your bibliography, how do you manage your data, and then how do you manage all the files that you have. And really, for the most part, I'm just going to go over some brief tips and tricks for you, some programs that I use that sort of make this whole process easier. So the first one I want to talk about is how do you deal with all the references? A reference search for a meta-analysis can be huge, especially if you start with the number of references that you sort through in order to find the ones that actually apply to your study. Because you should end up with a much more comprehensive set of articles to start with that you review at an abstract level. And then from the abstracts, pare those down to the ones that really look like they're possibly viable, and then look at those at an article level to determine which ones are actually viable for the study. So you have sort of a three-pronged, three-tiered approach, I guess. So the original lit search, which will produce a lot of hits, but a lot of also false negatives. And then read through all of those abstracts to determine the ones that you'll actually look at the full study. And then even from those full studies, only a portion of those will have met the criteria for the study and actually be viable, have enough data to actually compute effect sizes, that sort of thing. So that's the three layers that we'll deal with. Well, in order to deal with all of that information, and to be able to go back later and look at what articles you did and did not include, having some sort of reference manager program is really helpful. All of the programs I'm going to talk about, of course, are ones that students can get for free. And I know at least when I was a student, paying for additional services like this, there you go, smiley face for that. It's just difficult. I've gone through a ton of reference manager programs over the past 20 years. They've ranged from being really awful to really good. And a lot of them were things I paid for. And quite truthfully, out of all of them, Zotero, which is free, is one of the ones I like the best. So it's free, which is the first point under there. The other nice thing they just added in, they do updates to Zotero all the time. One of the new updates was you can now have a group account on Zotero, which would work well for this class or for any meta-analysis. It's very seldom you would do something like a meta-analysis alone, because you need people to double code things and things like that. So having a reference manager that can be accessed by a group is really helpful. It does use Firefox as a web browser, but luckily that's also free. So it's an add-in to the Firefox web browser. It's pretty easy to set up, with another 20 minutes on your computer, because I know you spend a lot of time on your computers as it is. You can probably set up Firefox and get the Zotero add-in and stick it in there. One of the really nice things about it, and what I originally looked at it for, was the fact that it will import citations from things like PsycInfo, EBSCO, any of the databases that we have at school. So when you're searching through the articles and you come up with 673 articles that fit your basic criteria for your search, well, you need to be able to keep track of which those 670 whatever were. I can't remember what number I made up, so we'll just call it 670 flat. You can add all of those to your folder, and I'm going to demonstrate this in a minute. You can add all those to your folder, and then you can import them using what's called BibTeX, which I'll again demonstrate in a minute. You can import them all into Zotero, and then you'll have that entire reference list in Zotero. From Zotero, you can export references into an APA-style reference list. There are some errors. I wouldn't use it without checking it in a publication or a paper, but 90, maybe 85% of the references come out nicely in APA style. It does tend to abbreviate journal titles, so it'll say, J of counseling psych instead of journal of counseling psychology. So going through and filling in some of those, but still you don't have to do anywhere near as much formatting. For the most part, it's pretty nice. So let's see if I can do a brief demonstration of that. I'm going to close out of a couple other windows. And then to share with you guys. I'm still trying to share. Hold on a sec. There we go. Okay, so your screen should basically just be jumping around all over the place right now as it tries to figure out what I'm sharing and what I'm not sharing. Give me a smiley face when you can actually see something. Yay. All right. So I'm just going to go to the library homepage. We'll go do a quick search, library.alliant.edu. Now that I'm in here, and I'm using Firefox as my web browser instead of Internet Explorer because Internet Explorer doesn't have Zotero. If you'll notice, down in the bottom right-hand corner of my Firefox web browser screen you're looking at, there's a little red Z. That's the Zotero down there. If I click on that, it'll open up the Zotero menu. You don't need it right now and don't want to overcomplicate your computer screen, so I'm not going to open it yet. So we'll just go ahead and go to databases and do this a really quick search on something. So it's like info. Your screen's going to jump all over the place while I do this. You don't need to know my passcode. Okay. So we'll search for rental verbal reviews. Clearly, that would not be the full search that I would use, just trying to get something random to show you guys. All right. So I look through these titles and decide that I need to put them into my folder. Have you guys used the folder in the, like, EBSCO in the library databases? Have you guys ever used the folder thing to store? Ah, see, okay, I'm teaching you two things at once then. So as you're going through here, say, because sometimes you'll read through 20 abstracts and 2 of them will be good. As you're reading through them on here, you can click on Add to Folder. And now at the very top of the screen, you can see where my cursor is right now. If it's not jumping around too much on your computer, it'll say Folder. When I go to there in a minute, I can download those, which is really helpful. I'll add a couple more to the folder. All of these articles, oh, they were all fabulous. I loved them all. There we go. So now I have like 5 articles in my folder. So now when I go to my folder, aha, all the articles are there. You can actually create an account, sign in, and have it saved for future. I've never done that. I just use it when I'm there. On the side, you can print it, you can email it to yourself, which is really helpful. It also will, if you email it, it'll email you the PDFs for all the articles you saved as well, so that can just be a handy way to get all of that information home to yourself. What we're going to do is select all of them. Now all of the articles in here are selected. Right now we only have 5, so it was a big select. And we're going to go to Export. On the far right-hand side, you see where it says Export. Give me a green check if you see export. I got one. And I see a chat window opening. Ah, you should have a scroll bar at the bottom. You can scroll over to the other side to see the other half of my screen, because my screen at home is huge. Your screen is probably normal sized. So if you use the scroll bar, you should be able to scroll over to see the other side. All right. So then if I click on Export, it's going to bring up a whole bunch of options. These are great. Even if you don't use Zotero or something else, this can be a really helpful way just to keep track of what all you have. You can email them to yourself, etc. What we're going to do is check on citations in BibTeX format. That's the one Zotero likes BibTeX. This is not too difficult of a strange name to remember, BibTeX. Once we click on that, we're going to click on Save. And it's going to bring up this whole list of all of this random information. So it's the author, the ISN number, journal, keywords, all kinds of stuff. And all you're going to do to put it into Zotero is copy it onto your clipboard. You know how to use Control-C to copy something like you would in Microsoft Word. Green checks if you ever do that. Got one green. Aha, there we go. So we're basically just going to do that. You're going to just highlight all the way down to the bottom. I'm going to wait for your computers to catch up with me on that. I'm just going to hit Control-C, which just puts it onto my clipboard. Now I can open up Zotero. I'll give it a sec to open. There we go. You can see all the other data libraries I have in here. Did Zotero open on your screen, or is it still trying to go? I see a chat, so I'm going to hold on a sec. I see two chats. I literally hit Control-C, then I don't hit anything else. Right, I just hit Control-C and that puts it on the clipboard. In a second, what I'm going to do is, there's this little gray gear here in Zotero, and that's functions, basically. It gives you lots of things you can do. And one of the options is import from your clipboard. So once you hit Control-C, now all that information's on your clipboard. I hit import from clipboard, and then I give it a minute, especially if I have like 50 references I've just copied over. And here they are. So now they're in my Zotero. So the first one was called Beyond Sticks and Stones. And all of its information is now on the right-hand side. Now the other really nice thing about this is, once I go to that, so that was the import of Tuesday, October 11th dataset. If I right-click on that, I can say, create a bibliography from collections. And it'll come up with all different kinds of formats I could save it in. I'm going to do it as save it in APA 6th edition and copy to the clipboard. All right, now that's on my clipboard. Then all I have to do is just go into a Microsoft Word document and do Control-V, and it'll paste the reference page in there. Instead, I'm going to stop sharing with you guys. Aha! Are we back? Unless they give me this tiny little data thing. There we go. No, not going to let me make it bigger. There we go. In Microsoft Word, they come out much prettier. It actually formats it correctly. But you can see that all the information from there you go. And that's all you would do. If I was in Microsoft Word, it would have come out prettier.